It was never something that they did. It was always something they didn't do that they regretted.
The speed of innovation and change right now is so dramatic. It's like nearly violent, frankly. It's like
You only need one person to see it.
Right.
Typically, it's the stuff that's not advertised that's the best for you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I've never seen an ad for a banana, but it's the first thing I grab when I go to the grocery store. Right.
Let's bring in Grant White, portfolio manager,
an investment advisor at IA Private Wealth.
Welcome to the Finding Your Wealth podcast.
The whole thing is absolutely a bit of a tire fire, in my opinion. I don't like drama, and this stock is surrounded by drama.
All right, well, welcome to the Finding Your Wealth podcast. I don't know what episode we're on, but this is great to have you here because Steve, you're the person that reminded me that we got to get to episode at least 23.
22, but let's just make it 23.
At least 20.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not there yet, but we're working on it. Steven Maxted, thanks so much for joining me today. It's awesome to have you here because especially like I call you the master of podcasts, but like I think we were at an event one time and this is where we met, was one of those sip sessions that Maddie and the crew put on over there.
Yes.
And we were talking podcasting, so it's like kind of a full circle moment for me to have you here.
Absolutely. It's great to be here and great to connect. I know we've connected on a few things. We've run shoulder to shoulder at some fundraising events.
Climb some hills.
Climb some hills together. Yeah. So some true bonding. It's neat to be here.
Well, and you've got an interesting story, and like I'm excited to dive into it because you got a lot of skills. Like you're like a Swiss Army knife. I think it's awesome. So I'm excited to dive into it. But
absolutely.
You know, this is like the most wealth management kind of a podcast because like our objective is to change the definition of wealth or what people think of the idea of wealth. So we're not talking money. Like we never talk money on these episodes. We're talking investments. We are literally just talking about like your definition of like what is a fulfilled and happy and free life. So I'm excited to dive into it. And actually, I'll just say like up front, because I'm going to ask you like where you are on your wealth scale, your freedom scale today in a second. But like, my definition has actually changed like really like recently about like what that scale actually means to me. And so, you know, I used to talk about it as if like, you know, a freedom scale, like, you know, and if I was 10 out of 10, that meant I got to choose exactly how I lived my life, how I spent every second, every minute of my day and who I wanted to spend it with. Yeah. But I've actually, just through some like conversations in the last few months, have decided that that's not actually the true definition of wealth to me anymore. Like fulfillment was something that was missing in that definition. Because like even if I had freedom of time, I might not be fulfilled. And I just came across some examples in like, you know, kind of everyday life. And actually, I was more recently, like I was just chatting with somebody about, because the Masters were just on, and I was just chatting about Rory McIlroy, and he had like kind of a bit of a famous quote. I hope it's a real quote, because he was talking about like after he hit the Grand Slam last year, he thought like that was going to be fulfillment, right? And he, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said he's like kind of like got up the next day and it's just like, no, like it's like life wasn't any different for him basically after that. And so that's like the pinnacle of golf. That guy is the top of the game literally right now, and like, you know, he's like redefining what fulfillment means to him. So it kind of reminded me that it's like, yeah, like there's all these people in the world that can spend their time doing anything they want to do, but if they're not fulfilled, they still don't have that true definition of wealth. So that's a long-winded way of saying I've redefined my own version of this. And I talked about it a little bit on the last episode, but like for me, I'll give you my score first. Like I'm cruising at about an 8 right now. And a lot of it is, and I used to say like 6, 7 all the time. Oh, I didn't even mean to do the math. I did not mean to do that. That's bad.
That's okay.
That'll be for my 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But I used to be cruising at 6, 7. But I'm at an 8 now, and a large part of it is because of the redefinition and fulfillment. Because I feel super fulfilled in the work we're doing. Like we're not anywhere near like achieving our true potential at this point. At least I hope not. But yeah, the work is really fulfilling. And so, do I have freedom of time? Comes and goes, but the fulfillment piece is really there for me. So anyway, that's where I'm at, but I'm really curious as to where you're at on all this.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that. I think I would currently rank, in terms of that question, to nail that out of the gates, I think I would also be at an 8.
Yeah,
when I was doing a little bit of prep for this too, and I was reviewing it, I think I would comfortably say that I'd be there. But it has changed as well for me over time. A couple life-defining things, you know, have happened along the journey, and just understanding that, we're not going to talk numbers, but money comes and goes.
Yeah.
And you can have waves of that, especially on the entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
I've seen those memes online where it's like Monday 30 cents, Tuesday 70,000,
Yeah.
Wednesday $5, and then Thursday's back up to 20 grand or something like that in your bank account. And a lot of that couldn't be more like true in many ways. And it's super cliche to say sometimes that money isn't everything on that. I know we're not talking money, but
we can talk money. It's like, it's one of those things, like we talk a lot about the constraints. Like money absolutely is a constraint that gets in the way, but there's other constraints too. But
100%. But yeah, freedom of time is certainly a big one. One thing that, and I have this in my gym. I'm redoing it right now, or just finishing that reno. But there's a poster that I made and I put it in my gym, and I talk about it once in a while. But it's this quote is, "What would 80-year-old you think?"
Yeah, I love that.
And it comes from years of working with farmers when I was young in my ag career. And even if I did make the sale, but if I wasn't making a sale and I just wanted to learn something from the experience, I was doing all these farm calls and stuff. I'd ask mostly guys, I don't know, it's like 90% of guys or husband and wife, duos and stuff. I'd ask them about stuff that they regretted or something that they would change on their journey. And it came out of curiosity. And then I just started noting all these different conversations, different parts of Western Manitoba, Eastern Saskatchewan, different parts of the prairies, all these farmers and couples. It was never something that they did. It was always something they didn't do that they regretted. Yeah. And so that's where that quote came from for me. And I based a lot of things in my life on that. I got a little laundry list of stuff I want to do before I'm 80. Yeah. I want to make sure that those things are checked off on there. Yeah. And that's evolved over time. But also, some of those goals and stuff are a little flexible too, because you can have those things, but things can change along that way too. So you have to be, I think, a little mobile and be able to pivot on those things. Yeah. But that is kind of. Wait, what was the question again? I started randomly. I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't know if.
Well, you're at an 8 on the wealth scale kind of or the freedom scale.
Yeah. So 80-year-old me, that's kind of like my North Star of decision making and a lot of stuff. And then the freedom side comes from being, I guess, having other life experiences, kind of more tied to work. I used to have a lot of my value tied to the company, and I still will work for folks too and run my own stuff, and that's okay. But it changed over time, being bought out, companies going under, laid off. Never thought those 3 things would happen from different walks of life, but they certainly changed optics on value and then value of time, and realizing with those ebbs and flows, even in entrepreneurs side of things or within organizations, things can change, and you kind of have to be prepared for the unexpected and be okay with that over time. So health is wealth is one of my biggest things too, is being in shape. And I know we both agree to some extent on that, given kind of the effort that you make in fitness and your fundraising and stuff there, because without that, you don't have anything. I met some people that have, we'll call it all the money in the world, and sometimes on their journey, they've been incredibly unhealthy. Yeah. And I'm sure we've all met folks like that. Yeah. And they would trade anything for just be healthy.
I heard this story one time. You just reminded me of it. Was there's a guy I know. He was in Hawaii one year. He was younger at the time, he's probably in his 60s now. But he went to Hawaii with his wife for the first time. They were in probably their 20s or early 30s, and there was this. They were walking along the beach, and it was Waikiki. For anybody who's been there, you can picture it. So they're walking along the beach, and there's this elderly couple, and there's the wife is pushing the husband in the wheelchair, and she's trying to push him through the sand because he just wants to get to the water, and so she's pushing him through the sand. So this guy I know sees them, and of course he runs over and says let me help you, because it's they're literally pushing through sand. So he pushes him over and gets him to the water. And the guy dips his toes in the water, and he looks up at the guy I know, and he's like, hey, don't wait to do this. This is our first trip here. Don't wait to do this again, And it was that guy's dream to get there, but I guess there's a story in that he did make it, but it's he didn't make it until he couldn't literally walk anymore, Yeah,
don't wait.
So could he enjoy Hawaii? No, not really, but don't wait. Yeah. Yeah, so I think what you're talking about, what I love about what you talked about was just so you're intentional about this. And like I've talked to a lot of people about, I think one of the biggest steps you can take is just have intention about what you want to do. Like think about it. Like think about beyond like the next couple weeks about what you want to do in your life, you know? And it's so visual too. Like what would the 80-year-old me think of myself? Like, as you said it, and I think that's even on your LinkedIn page, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I immediately envision like, what does 80-year-old Grant think of what I'm doing today? I mean, I think he's pretty proud of what's going on, but like, what's he going to think about what I'm doing? So I love that, how visual that is. And I wish more people took that type of approach.
I try to, yeah. And I mean, it helps, can help in a lot of different ways, professional, personal life, you know, whether it be in a family or personal relationship stuff too. Like, is this going to matter in 5 years, or am I going to remember this when I'm 80? Yeah. Kind of thinking on like stuff in
Does
general.
it help you to let things go?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if, you know, you get caught up in something at work, you know, am I going to remember this like when I'm 80? Or is this like, you know, a little lesson, but, you know, where is this going? Or, something happens in a personal side of things, like, you know, it's not, like I said, like it's not always that direct comparison. Are we going to remember this in 5 years? But is this really like a big deal for my, you know, storyline when I'm 80 kind of thing? I try to let that go that way. Yeah. So yes, I guess is the short answer.
Which is good. I mean, I think that's also something that people have a really tough time doing. Like we talked about, actually this morning I was just chatting about it as well. Like one of our advisors had a really big win yesterday. You know, it's not career changing, but it's as close as it kind of gets, you know, and so it's a big win. And, you know, he's like the kind of person that they'll celebrate it for a second. Like literally, like he sends me a text about it last night, and it's like, and as soon as the text goes out, so does like the kind of the benefit of like that win. And he's like on to the next, you know.
That's experience right there though.
Yeah.
Because you can get caught up in those, those wins and ride that wave only so far though. But I like, you know, I'm bad at that too. Like I don't know what the right answer is to that. Like I think like I move forward off of wins very quickly, because it's like it's on to the next, because I know, like, again, entrepreneur life is, it's the waves, and like I always know that after a win there is like the fall at some point too that you're gonna have to deal with. And so and I don't think that changes no matter how big you get. I'm looking at like you look at Apple, frankly, over the last year, and it's like, man, Tim Cook's faced some tough days in the last year. It hasn't changed for him. So so I don't know what the right answer, wrong answer is, but I do know that being able to let the bad things go, the negative things go, and move forward is definitely helpful in the experience at the same time. So hardest part there is like dealing with the unknown. And if you haven't done something before, I think that's one of our biggest stressors, right? Is not knowing if you haven't experienced that before. You know, what's that expression? Something about, you know, like a seasoned sailor never learned on calm seas kind of thing. Right, yeah. Something like that.
Something like that.
Something along those zones, So, you know, without the bumps, you don't learn, because, you know, the first, if I could talk about a little bit of like a work experience thing.
Absolutely.
First time I got laid off, pretty committed employee throughout my career, part-time jobs growing up and stuff like that, and had kind of grown up with this agriculture organization, couple summer student roles, ended up then managing like the summer student program moving forward, went through this merger, got laid off, you know, part of the biz, and it was like devastating for sure. I was crushed.
How old were you?
27. I was an adult.
So you're young. No, but you're
young in the career for sure. And I was very thankful that happened. I witnessed other folks through that merger lose their career at the age of 54. And that's harder to peel yourself off the ground, being somewhere for like 20 years, not having changed hats and stuff and never gone through that. I remember I panicked. I went and worked immediately. You know, like I went like on the job hunt, and I even started driving. It's not anywhere online, I don't think, but a little tidbit here, but I actually worked for Skip the Dishes. I drove food around for a month.
Yeah, why not?
I had to wait for some legal stuff to happen or whatever through that process, but I had never been through it, so panic mode. Oh my gosh, what do I do? So I went and like drove food for a month while I was on, you know, like headphones or whatever, calling anyone I knew in ag to be like, are you guys hiring, or what's out there?
So you're calling while you're delivering?
I was literally like conference calling people to be like panic mode, where can I go and work? And that was an interesting one, because you know, fast forward, everything worked out. Actually, like kind of climbed up through a couple organizations, like rather quickly into other, you know, monetary wins and different positions that were like more responsibility and stuff. But the next time that a company went under, or I had been laid off, like the next time what I promised myself is that I would go travel, because there was no need to go panic. I got a payout. Part of that moved into, you know, different things that you can get creative. Talk to experts on that one. This is not advice. You know, a little tidbit there.
Yeah,
but the bottom line was I already had a plan for next time.
Yeah.
Because it was, hey, like there was no need to go and do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm glad I did, and it was good for me because you kind of get to like almost like double dip for a little bit. You got to pay, and you got paid more from the next opportunity that came up because people were watching or observing me, and that's a big takeaway here too. Is like people are always watching you and observing you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
And so people were thought I was making here when I wasn't, and then the next offers were, hey, I guess this is what it's going to take to get you over here. So that impression of whatever you thought, you know, kind of not to fake it till you make it, but just
sometimes we call that peacocking around here. It's
I
like
guess
you got to
so.
be a peacock and you got to flap the feathers.
100%, or just put in that extra effort, right? When you're at events and stuff like that, putting away the chairs. I mean, we see a little clip of Sidney Crosby doing that and like running the Penguins organization, putting away the chairs, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff goes noticed, right? Leadership style stuff over time. So
I want to, because I love travel and I encourage people, because I think travel is, I mean, people love to travel, but I think it's still underrated in the benefits of travel and experiences and like even 100%. Experiencing other cultures. So where'd you go on your travels?
So, yeah, well, I've been a lot of places across Canada, States, been to Australia, Europe, I guess, you know, Mexico, South, Central America. Yeah. I guess we call it that. But there was this one that sticks out for me when a company changed reorg stuff and that happened again. And I was like, I was already prepping. I knew it was something was going to happen there, and I was going to talk about this at one point in today's questions or whatever. I figured it would like slide in here at some point, but it was an interesting one because it was such a relief when it happened, actually. Okay. Because you kind of have those like stress moments, and we just finished like a big trade show with this one organization, and then they were changing. It was like VC funded, but tech stuff had started to change, and then everything had to switch. Right. So, and I immediately like booked a flight. I already had like the trip planned out. So I was just like, when is this happening in a weird way? I was just like, well, when do I get to go on this trip basically? Because I know the inevitable is like happening, right? It was like, it was like 2 days later. And, you know, then I had to deal with kind of some work related stuff there. But when I was in Costa Rica, I went there on a solo trip. I was there for a month. And coincidentally, it was like right before COVID timing or whatever too. So I fit in like a sweet trip. I was going to do more travel, but then kind of got stuck here playing for and flying. It was advised not to be flying. So I was kind of thankful the timing that I ended up being back home and stuff like that, but also could have been like, you know, locked down on a beach for like another 4 months. So would have been neat too. But that trip was like really unique to, just kind of turn and then go to like relax and then figure it out from there. Because I know a lot of people, you know, we get caught in kind of like that 9 to 5 work, show up, take your week's vacation, whatever. But if you go for a refresher like that and then you're able to come back and make in like a 2-month window like $60K or something like that, that's some people's entire salary for a year. And, you know, not saying that things are made in the shade, but that's the reality for some industries and ebbs and flows, and people don't always like look at those opportunities. It's scary to do that because you could have a drought for several months. I've been there too, where things were like tight and I'm like, shoot, I don't know if this is working. It's like just covering bills on one venture a few years ago. And when I started, and then all of a sudden it was like the floodgates opened. It was like 3 or 4 contracts all at once. Good work. Hired a team. Started hiring more of a team because I was already doing that. And those things can happen. But kind of like that marathon mindset of just continuing to push through to that finish line is something that I also like take with me everywhere. You know, whether it's running hills or actual marathons or triathlons, but bring that into the work environment too. As far as like that, I think that's something that can't be replaced in folks. And it's just like you won't give up till the race is over kind of thing. And whether you got bloody heels, I have a couple stories there. You know, like blisters exploding, you know, you're still going to finish it. So
I want to get into that too. But you reminded me of something. I mean, I saw this stat the other day, actually not the other day, a couple months ago. It was about there's like a correlation between like successful entrepreneurs and like how many of them have like run like marathons and like completed a marathon. And it's like they're not all in like great shape and like marathon, but it's like the mental like perseverance that to like complete a marathon or like a triathlon or anything like that, you know, like definitely coincides with like just the perseverance you need to like stick through the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship. So
100%.
So you reminded me of that. So you're through that period. Were you when did you start your company? Was it before?
Actually, well, one of them. There's been a few over the last few years, and a couple still exist. But Type A, we're in today. It was on my list of things to do before I'm 80 was to have a bike company. So it started off as a bike company. So
Yeah.
it started off as Type A bikes. So legally it's that. And then we trademarked, or I trademarked, I say we, a small team that helps support that, but I trademarked the word Type A off of that.
Yeah.
But it started when I got back from that trip, actually. I was like, okay, I got time. There was a few things on my list. One of them was bike company, old truck, like fix up this old farm truck thing.
Okay.
And then I built a sauna. We were just talking about that before, or whatever. So I had a few things. I was like, okay, I want to have the sauna. I want to get an old truck, fix it up, and I want to start a bike company or whatever. And I'd been kind of toying with this bike thing, personal interest of mine, obviously through like cycling alone and then triathlons, but started this thing with the idea of it being like a online bike shop, and then it turned into renting bikes, and then it turned into renting kayaks, and then it turned into all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Outdoor activity things that I thought I was passionate about. I wanted to share that with other people, and it was pretty successful, I'd say, for those few years. You could be outside and socializing with folks, so it was really good timing to do the rental side of it.
Awesome.
From there, kind of spurred off a couple other like projects that have like had their ups and crash burning downs in there, but ultimately then doing the trademark on the word for us, or me here, is a clothing athletic brand. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. The trademark's owned on anything athletic that you can put it on, so exploring some different things. I'm wearing a golf shirt today. We looked at getting into like the golf industry a little bit more, as well as like hockey, things that are near and dear to me, for sports and my childhood and stuff like that, of where could we be a fit and help folks, kind of access sports a little bit easier is kind of maybe the direction that this is going. But there's kind of, opportunities out there. It's the tricky part is figuring out like narrowing that focus. How close do we want to get to manufacturing? Where can we be in this modern day and age in that kind of stuff? Can we be manufacturing that in, a garage? Or do we have to go overseas and, get stuff like we have, head to toe, shoes to hats, the clothing, we have phone cases, we've actually made a coffee, and then we still have that on our store. We have random stuff that we can source, and just like figuring out those different things, how to do that is a big part of it. And now we've had success doing that. It's kind of like, hey, how do we bring in other things? But sorry, back to the COVID timing things I checked off my list there was your question. So I did the bike thing, the truck thing, the sauna thing, and then there was a few other like list items there. I was kind of eyeing up, but those took like a lot of focus. And then the other question there was like starting the other company kind of thing, and that happened a couple of years later. Off of a startup that kind of failed. Won't dive too much into it, but because of some marketing efforts there, kind of led me to believe that that would be an area that I should get into. So started helping and supporting other companies, a little like internationally there, somewhere stateside, somewhere across Canada. And then we started doing the podcast then too, because I could see the opportunity. Hey, like I just see this is already happening. Really strong future. Obviously, we're sitting here today on the podcast, and it is a great tool, networking tool. It's a lot of things for a lot of different organizations, and so we started helping support that with the team there too. And those had successes and failures and learnings along the way. And it's so neat to see how much technology has evolved in that time. It's like kind of mind blowing. And it's really interesting, easier than ever, but harder to stay consistent on this stuff than ever too. There's so many distractions.
So I had this conversation yesterday actually with my business coach. We meet once a month and we talk about just stuff, anything that's going on really. But you touched on something we talked about yesterday, was just this is no surprise to anybody, but the speed of innovation and change right now is so dramatic. It's like nearly violent, frankly. It's like it is extremely hard to keep up with. For anybody, like large company, small company. I actually feel like it's the great equalizer. Like, for companies our size, like we're closing in on 30 total employees across our companies here. But we're facing the exact same problems. A friend of mine was emceeing a panel that had Google and Microsoft representatives on, like overseas somewhere. And when I was chatting with her, she was saying like they're facing the same questions you're facing. And I'm like, it's one, so comforting to know that we have the same problem that Microsoft has today, and it's so exciting to know that if we solve this problem, that perhaps we're really onto something here. But the speed of change is so dramatic right now. And what I like about what I love actually about like what you've done with Type A is that Type A is not one thing. It's like it could be many things, could be anything, and it could be, and it's kind of almost more just a way of life. I mean, if I can describe it that way. I mean, you might describe it differently, but it's the you start with bikes, and then you get into like other outdoor sports, and then it's into like it's just yeah, like it's more of a way of life than one thing. Like you don't sell widgets, you sell a lifestyle. If that's
awesome.
fair to say.
No, that's sweet. I love to hear this though too. No, I love that. We're gonna run with it.
Yeah.
It's been like a pretty heavy debate. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but when it started off as like bikes and then I did the trademark, I'm like, okay, well, now what? I like the phrase, I like the look of this stuff, but you know, what do we really stand for? And I think that's actually one of the bigger struggles in a lot of ways if we talk about like freedom and stuff like that. I think you made a comment about like purpose kind of driven with the gentleman that you used as an example earlier, and asking why, I think it's like 20 times in a row about stuff was a big exercise that I went through at the end of last year into this year. And it's almost part of the reason we were talking about my podcast earlier, why I hadn't produced, because I was like, why are we doing this? You know, and what is and there's some obvious benefits to continue to do them, but asking that why definitely helped me grind down things back to a very baseline level. It's almost like taking everything back to the foundation again. And because that kind of violent growth or opportunity within stuff there, like we've reviewed everything within the marketing side from different softwares that we've used. And it's been interesting to see that. I don't know if you found this yet, on when I've gone through and reviewed different softwares and tried to cancel or whatever. That's or hard. Like subscribe. They ask about 5 questions and they offer you like a half off thing now. I think that's incredibly dangerous for like those companies that they're experiencing that because they feel like they have to. They're like, hey, we want to keep you here. And some of them are really great softwares, but we just don't use them, or there's way better or other options out there that are substantially less. And I've experienced that with 3 or 4 softwares that we've pulled back from and just canceling the membership. And
interesting.
It is. I
haven't seen that yet. I know that when we've tried to cancel certain like softwares, it is really hard to get out of them. And then sometimes I find I'm like, we're in a multi-year subscription like for some of these, and it's like so weird. Like it's like costs like $5,000 to get out of some. It's like holy shit, I can say that's my podcast. Your rules. It's pretty wild. I was listening to this podcast recently, and it was it was the All In podcast, and I was listening. I don't know if you listened to it, but
is that with Cody?
What's that?
Is that Cody's podcast?
No. It's got like it's probably one of the most popular ones. It's got Chamath Palihapitiya and David Sachs and those guys. Anyway. Chamath was talking about how like this with everything in AI going on right now, like everything's getting commoditized down, right? I believe that. Like, you know, technical skills, service offering, that's all getting commoditized down. So it's going to be almost indistinguishable. Like you can't differentiate on a lot of this stuff. Like arguably today that's happening, and within a few years it might be completely there. His argument, which I don't agree with, was that in that world, brands don't matter at all. Like brands, like, because you'll have so much abundance, you won't even care. And actually, I thought he made the really good point that brands are going to matter more than anything, actually, because like in a world where you've got commoditized like things going on, it's like services or whatever, the only thing that probably matters is like the brand and what that company that's delivering that stands for. That's my point of view. I'm interested in your thoughts on it. I have a feeling I know where you're going with it, because like as we're talking about type A, and talking about it as like more of a way of life than anything else, it's like literally you could get into selling widgets or like providing financial services, and it's the type A experience around that.
Interesting. I love that. No, this is a great brainstorm. Well, let's compare like another company out there, if I may kind of throw out there. Like there's been those great followings for organizations that have been really like niche in what they do, like Tentree, really cool brand, you know, planting 10 trees. And there were some, you know, nuances to that in terms of, you know, the specifics around those, like how those trees came to be and stuff, if we want to get in the weeds on that. But really neat how they started and grew that. And then you look at brands like Patagonia. One of my favorites. And great quality, great story. People are really attached to that brand for obvious reasons. And, you know, after that, there's a long list of other brands that have done really great things over time, or have, you know, just watching, what was that Nike movie? I forget the name of it, but that was really cool one to watch. I'm a bit of a reader, but I'm more of a watcher. As far as that goes, so it was good to see, and I have the book. Like the Michael Jordan one. When they're signing him. Air. I think it was. They're just really neat to take notes off of that, about how those brands like evolved and you know, reaching out to athletes on that side. It's something that we've done too prior to like different Olympics, and getting in touch with them. Super neat to have them on board with us. And awesome. So we had different neat experiences there. Cool. I think brands are really important. And I mean, personal branding, like we've worked with clients in different industries. I was just talking to this gentleman the other day at this presentation I did, where It's an HVAC company, and you'd think that industry maybe not so in front of camera.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of influence, like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. They're climbing behind. They're doing hot water tanks, ACs, furnaces. We've done some consulting there. It's just a really cool example of great feedback from someone and how important I think a brand really is.
Yeah.
He had mentioned, he's like, hey, the work that we've done together has impacted us in terms of being at this trade show that he was at recently. He said, I've never been invited into certain rooms before, and now I'm invited into like these like influencer things, these extra gala things, and he's not gone super viral. And this is always my point when I talk with clients about this stuff. Sometimes you only need one person to see it, and it needs to be the right person.
Right.
So if you get 200 views, that's 4 buses of people. Frank, like that's a lot of people.
Right.
People are always going for the million views, but like a million eyes laughing at like a meme that everyone's seen doesn't close business. But
Right.
200 views of high quality folks, absolutely.
Right.
If it's on LinkedIn, if it's on, that's more my primary. I like to focus on that with businesses a lot, and that's where this gentleman I think got a lot of those intros. But for his own personal brand now, outside of his company there, that's how he got recognized.
Right.
Right. You could have the label of, we used my like type A, but if it doesn't mean anything behind the scenes in terms of like a lifestyle and stuff, it's just a label on there.
Yeah.
And frankly, that is really easy to do.
Yeah.
That's easier than ever. You can drop shipping companies, online stores. You don't have to be anywhere. You can push this stuff out. You can use AI to do all your stuff for you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that personal brand, I think following you through that and a bit of a story in even sharing failures, there's been some really great, without going for the clickbait on those things, but different events locally here where they have like, the F up nights or whatever, and like sharing stories. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to that recent one, but I can certainly appreciate different things that they talk about, or when people do share vulnerable, genuine things, we'll say, on LinkedIn, not just for the clicks, but for like, hey, this is something. I saw a guy that posted about bookkeeping. Oh my gosh, what a head! Like, not my strength. I guess, but I got a guy. It does that stuff for me. Kind of thing, or helps out a lot with it. Certainly capable of doing it, but something I'm disinterested in doing. So, get help where you need it, kind of thing. But those genuine story sharing things are really valuable, and that brand is important.
So you mentioned Air, the book Shoe Dog.
Yes,
it was about Phil Knight. So I don't know if you've read the book, but like, it's like, it was probably the best book. I can't remember when I read it. I read it at a time where I needed to read it though. Like, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it was at least 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But I remember, like Endeavor was pretty early on in its life, and it was like, and you go through the ups and downs of it. And one of the most comforting things to me was knowing that Nike almost went bankrupt like 15 times. Because I'm like, here's this iconic company, and I think I think you're right. Like these F up nights and stuff like that are super important to remind us that you got to enjoy the journey of this whole thing. Like, because as Rory McIlroy found out, it's the destination is not like what life's all about. It's about how you got there, and you never really get to the destination. Somebody told me the destination's death, actually. Like, that's the only time you only achieve your full potential in life. It's like seconds before you pass away, because you're growing, or you should be growing that entire time.
Interesting.
So it's like, well, that sounds great. Like, you got to die to get to like your full potential, but it's just a reminder of like, you got to enjoy it. And like, I read that book at like the perfect time to remind me that, here's an iconic business in the world with like the best of the best athletes under their brand. And they almost never existed, like at least 15 times, if not more. And so, like, I think that's just a good reminder for all of us. And, like,
100%.
One of the things that I think on the entrepreneurial side, which people didn't talk about this stuff before, I think that's a relatively new thing. At least it's in my experience, it's a relatively new thing to at least open up about those genuine stories. Because I think everybody was trying to, like, we don't want people to know that we struggled.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was probably, I'll say, like, relatively speaking, like our dad's generation, guys don't cry. Don't break down. Don't have emotional setbacks, and same kind of thing in business. It was, we're doing great, and they could be very broke, and not, or not even broke, just like things not working well, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be like that, jump that way, but factory broke down, or like bad products going out, which I guess is a monetary constraint there too, of like bad things happening, or bad reviews, or they lost orders and different stuff. But actually, I got a story to share on that. I had that same experience. I'm not Rory, but I did an Ironman last year, a half Ironman, a 70.3 out in Calgary.
Which is a good segue, because I want to dig into this.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say I had the same experience after I finished that race. I built it up all summer. It was a main focus to do that. It was a goal I set out to do. But it was not, it was underwhelming, I'd say, finishing it. I was proud of myself for doing it, but it was kind of like you train so hard, and I didn't want to make it sound easy because it was a difficult race.
Yeah.
And it was one where it was like the craziest fail rate. Like often it's like an 80% finish.
Okay.
In those, but this one was like 47% or something like that out
Wow.
in Calgary. It was quite cold, and a lot of folks came out of the water, got hypothermic, and then it was cold and rainy, so a lot of people didn't finish the bike either for that reason. And then the run was like, if you made it that far in, you'd noticed a lot of people had left the race.
Yeah.
At that point when you come through transition and stuff, but. So it was a unique race to have completed, but in the truck on the way home to my sister's place out in Calgary, there was kind of like, I don't know, like I was tired and sore, but it was everything I had trained for.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem like it was actually like that crazy of a thing at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, well, now what? I mean, like, yeah, you could go do like a full, and I think that is, not to be overly confident, but very attainable. But you have to have everything go right on those days too.
Yeah.
Right nutrition, no flat tires, nothing breaking on the bike. You don't break down out there, physically or mentally in terms of that. So a lot of things got to go right. But if you train for it and you do the right steps and processes, then you set yourself up for success. But it was kind of like, well, now what? And I've kind of held back on like races this year. I got a buddy of mine signed up for that race. After he saw me kind of do it, he's like, hey, are you doing this again? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure about that. And it's a weird space to be in after that, because you're like, I could keep doing this stuff and you perform at a high level, but you certainly like wear down your body quite a bit doing those two. They did like 5 halves last year and then 4 tries, and one of the tries was the half iron on that side of things. But that improved throughout the summer, but it was kind of more like big training days when I went and did those half marathons. It was just like a regular run, and continue to improve on those too, but it was just more of a get used to being in front of big groups and work through that pre-race anxiety was more the goals for doing all those races and stuff, and then get to the big one, and then that was kind of just like a reward for all the training in a way. Like they very easily, it was like the first group out of the water in the swim, very strong swimmer. Yeah. Held my own on the bike. Obviously, I'm not winning this thing or whatever, but you have life going on. Not to make excuses or whatever. Some people are just very high performers too, and can do that and still win those races, but still a main focus for me for sure. Yeah. So that was an interesting feeling though.
That's
but.
So I did an event a few years ago in Whistler where we went up Blackcomb Mountain. So we did Blackcomb Mountain 8 times within 36 hours, and that's the equivalent. The reason why it's 8 times, it's the equivalent elevation when you add it all together as Everest. Yeah. Yes. So it was an amazing event. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's after doing like running races and stuff like that, I'd prefer like the mountain because it's harder, but it's like it's not the same pounding on your body. But anyway, what I remember is I completed in 30 hours, and so I remember like after like 30 hours, I'm laying on the couch in the we had a condo there rented in like right in the village there in Whistler, and I'm laying on the couch and. Like I'm exhausted, but I was also just feeling this like, hey, that's done. And there was this immediate like kind of like, like kind of let down, like not let down, but it's like, you're at a high for so long and then it just comes off. And actually, so they had coaches around that event that actually warned us about this. It's like in the days following this event, you're probably going to feel a little depressed because it's like you go through this massive dopamine spike. I'm guessing it's dopamine. You go through this dopamine spike. And then you've got withdrawal for a couple days, and then you kind of normalize afterwards. So I don't know if that's
I definitely had that.
Like what you were experiencing, because
sure.
I mean I trained for at least 6 months for that event too, and you were training a lot for that triathlon for sure. I mean a half iron is no joke. So like for the record, like what's the distances on the half iron, man?
So it's 1.9. I'll just say a 2 kilometer swim. Yeah. And then 90K bike and then a half marathon. Yeah. Like so. Yeah, it's a good. Like my goal was to finish under 6. I actually like demolished that. I did it closer to 5 hours. Nice. I did really well on that, and it's a long race for sure. You're cooking to that kind of time and stuff, but it's a long one there. Definitely had that crash too. Like I openly broke down on the way home. I was just like, what did I train? Like I don't know. Now what? Like it was a weird, super weird feeling. Yeah. the following days I was quite sore. Chafing was the biggest issue because it rained so much.
I can imagine.
And you don't reapply in all the places, and it's quite painful. So that would be my one recommendation. I always say that I joke with people, but I'm like, take the time to reapply. There's sticks and stuff like that. So just cover everything that's important to you.
You heard it here. Like,
yeah, I heard it here.
Chafing's real.
Chafing's real. Lube up. Don't make the same mistakes or whatever.
I think I came back from my event that I was talking about, and I signed up for the Manitoba Marathon like the next day, basically, because I'm like, I need something else.
Yeah, you need the next thing to chase.
And I through that process I learned that like I did the full marathon. I'm like, I don't think I'm addicted to marathon running. I see like some people I know are absolutely addicted. They've got like 5 or 6 of them a year, and I'm like, that's not me. But I think I do chase like the next kind of adventure though at the same time. And like this summer, we haven't even like released this yet, but I'm like, I'm going with a coach, and we're gonna paddleboard across Lake Winnipeg.
Super cool.
And yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're raising money for the Dream Factory again, and we're gonna try to do something that it's been done before. Nobody records their times on it, so I'm like, if we record our time, is that a world record? Kind of thing.
Hey.
I think it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna do something like that. But like, I'm more interested in doing stuff like that today. But I want to. So on the fitness side, because this is a big part of your life, obviously. Like I follow you on Instagram. I see it. All man, like, you are cut these days. Like you're looking good.
Oh gosh. Appreciate that.
Where does that fit in everything? I mean, you talked about like true wealth. It involves health, because if you can't enjoy what's going on, and frankly, like we've seen this, with clients in the wealth business, like later on in life, it's not even just their own health, it's their partner's health. Like if somebody can't travel, for example, well, that stops both of them from traveling in some
100%.
cases, So tell me what you think about that. Tell me why this is so important to you. And let's get into that.
A lot of interesting thoughts about that comment for sure.
Yeah.
I put such a high value on it. I guess I just started training when I was young. I guess to start off with, I was always very active, tons of energy as a kid, and played tons of sports, and started lifting, little weights when I was like 12 or something like that. Like kind of couldn't wait to get like this like little gym bench at my parents' house, sort of work out in the basement. Thought it was super cool, and it's just become such an embedded routine in my life. Without it, it would be weird. Number one, I guess, on that part, but it's more for the mental calmness and clarity. I guess out of everything there. So that'd be like a big important piece for me, whether it's in endurance sports or lifting weights. And I've definitely changed how parts of my training. I used to actually appreciate those comments, by the way, but like cut more weight, in like in season and stuff. But this last season when doing that, like Ironman, I did not cut that same weight. I stayed about the same weight, probably different, like build more muscle in that sense. But what I found through lifting heavier weights and doing that stuff, I even though I was heavier weight wise, my knees and hips were not sore after races as much.
Gotcha.
And so just maintaining more of that muscle mass is really important. And I think outside of other comments I'm about to make, but the scale is kind of important. Like you can't change how much pressure certain weight that you're carrying puts on your joints.
Right.
If we're being really blunt about that. And I think it's something people shy away from, but there's just stats on that. And if you're overweight, you're going to wear down your joints quicker.
Yeah.
But if you're responsible in the sense of maintaining muscle mass along with that, obviously, like I've just physically experienced a different thing this year. Not to say I wasn't like a little sore in other ways, but the joint pain was different and not existent there. So, anyways, that being said, I think just overall looking down the line, and I have a really great group of guys I train with for tries. They're a little bit older than me. They'd be more like my dad's age, and that's just the crew that I roll with there. They're awesome. But I get to see, if you kind of compare other people's lives to the level of fitness that they bring in, and as well kind of your comments around some of the commonalities within folks that do marathons or triathlons and Ironman specifically. It's like the average net income earner for triathlon, I don't know if this is true, this is on Instagram, literally the other day, was estimated to be at like $200K a year.
Wow.
And it's interesting in the triathlon like sign up thing every year when you do like Triathlon Manitoba, they put that in the questionnaire, like what your income is. And I've seen it before on Ironman too.
Yeah.
They keep stats on that. But I think it's the mindset that changes that. Just witnessing kind of the difference in lifestyle of people that are the same age but have chosen different paths.
Right.
And seeing how in shape, like these guys are incredible athletes. They travel internationally and do triathlons. Like they've gone to worlds and stuff, a few of them. And just that dedication to that is quite inspiring for me, and realizing that I don't know, I want to maintain that for as long as possible. Obviously, like injuries happen over time too. And you got to be able to balance that. But I think just being there and being healthy and being, in the best shape. And to your point too about partner side of things there, I think that is such an underrated thing to consider in life. It's something that's really important to me. It's got to be important for my partner. I have a great partner now. We're both very active, and that's like a top priority for both of us.
Nice.
There, and it's
kind of has to be.
I think it definitely has to be, because without that, like you said, like traveling's part of it, but also it's just it's a lot of other things too, like overall happiness, like whether it be mental clarity, for me to be calmer. In that sense of like kind of squirrel brain side of things there. If I don't do my Peloton or weights this morning or whatever, I'm probably a little bit more anxious in general. And I think a lot of people manage that in other ways nowadays, whether substances prescribed or not. And I think that could be mitigated from being more active. If you could prescribe, if everyone walked or ran 5K every day, we'd probably be a little bit better off. And generally speaking, I'm not not health advice, but observation outside.
It can't hurt.
It can't, exactly. It can't hurt, right? Like if you were to like really break down like where like gaps are and stuff like that. And it's the things that are not advertised that are the best for you. Is heavy, right? If you look at sugary substances that are out there, they're advertised all over billboards. We're talking about marketing and stuff like that. Typically it's the stuff that's not advertised that's the best for you. Kind of thing. I've never seen an ad for a banana, but it's the first thing I grab when I go to the grocery store. Right? First thing in there I grab. Basically have them daily too. For like muscle stuff and different reasons why. But so I don't even know if I really answered the question there. I blabbed about how it's important to me and stuff, but why it's so important. I mean, whether it be like travel later on in life, but just having that a great partner that is active along with you. I think there's so many benefits, and that health or that caregiver side of things too later on in life. I mean, obviously health things can happen, but if you kind of have that mentality of like getting back up and out there, you can't change that mentality if you're really strict on that.
It's really hard to, I mean, my, just an example, my dad went through some health challenges in I think it was his 40s. He's good now, but like, he's in his 40s, had some challenges. Like he neglected his health for a long time, as a lot of people do. Like used to be like a super athlete, played rugby, played all these sports, and then neglected it, had kids, life like changes, business, career, etc. Anyway, and then he started going back to the gym in his probably late 40s, and he's pretty active now. He's in his early 70s, but he's like pretty active, like at the gym 3-4 times a week, I think. But he would be the first person to say to me, he's like, it was the hardest thing ever to get it back. And stats show that it's like the later, like the later you start trying to get it back, it's just the harder and harder it gets to get there, and maybe you don't even get fully back to where you could have been, So
one thing that you mentioned there, or seeing on social media posts about it, I think it's an interesting to note about why I share that stuff. A lot of it's on Strava, though. I mean, but all stuff there, and I go back and kind of reflect on like, hey, like how's progress looking here, basically for me. But I will have one or two friends reach out and be like, hey, love seeing this, or a buddy just recently commented, he's like, I worked out this week because you were making me feel lazy, basically. And that's the main reason I share that stuff. I think a lot of folks may see that or observe that in different ways from people that share different like fitness pics or tarps off photos and stuff like that. But a really good buddy of mine just said that this last week. He's like, man, he's like, Steve, like you posted last week that you're a workout that you did, and he's like, got me off my ass, and I got in gear, and he's a little out of shape. I think he'd be the first one to agree with that one too. And he's like, I gotta get back in here and do this stuff. And I bug him, and I'm like, yeah, you totally do. You've been in way better shape historically, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be.
It's funny you mention that, because like I was chatting with Derek Elliott. I don't know if you know Derek.
Sure.
Anyway, he was talking about like, because he's posting a lot about his running these days, and so long story short, like it's like I found when I post around that, I get equally like supportive people as like people that are negative on it. And I learned a long time ago, it's like you're never gonna please everybody, so you just gotta like just keep pushing and put out whatever you want to put out, like that makes you happy. But but yeah, I think that's such a valuable thing, because it's like comes back to community at the end of the day.
100%.
Like, and you were talking about your community around like cycling and the, you know, that group that you've got there. But you can create community in so many ways, and I think I'll go on a limb here and say that the world is really like starving for more community. Like, people used to go to church for community.
Yes.
People don't go to church that much anymore. Like, there's obviously good core groups there, but people don't go to church anymore. People don't even work in the same buildings anymore. Like, you know, like the work from home movement happened, and now people are maybe 2 to 3 days in the office. So you're not getting as much community in the office space, in the workspace. A lot of remote work these days, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, people's traditional community spaces are no longer the same thing, and so where do you find it?
Yeah.
You know, and you found it in like a group like you go cycling with, and you guys share stories and failures and all that stuff. The entrepreneurial community is like somewhat supportive of each other. I'd say it can go further. But even like, just sharing stories. Like, you got community there with your buddy. It's like, hey, I'm doing this workout. He's feeling like a little bit of pressure in a good way to get off his ass and to go do something, you know? And I think that's so valuable. Like, I think we need more of that.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel the same way. It's funny you mentioned the, or like church side there. I've had that exact same thought. Actually, recently kind of got a little bit more in touch with that side, but I think it has drifted away, and I almost compared it to, like, people used to go to church and they go to yoga class or whatever in a weird way or whatever for that calmness and reflection piece. It doesn't have to be as specific to like one genre, but just taking that time to reflect is really important. And I think that we've kind of transitioned, whether it be like a running club or yoga or Pilates or whatever it is for you, you know, or these like HIIT classes and stuff like that, taking that minute to push the mind. It's interesting that we've gotten to like the talking about the fitness thing. I've literally had that same thought, so I find that very interesting.
I think it's so valuable, and it's good to see. Like, my wife goes to the Gang Fitness, and so she's got
super cool.
Like, she's been there, I think, 6 months, let's say, but she's got this community around it now, working out. Like, it's just all of these things. I think like I don't know, those are all just great habits. It keeps you good. Like, if you're getting up at 5 a.m. to go work out, 100%. Knowing somebody else is already there or going to be there is super helpful on the days you don't want to do it. You know, so it keeps you on it. You know, we've dove into a bunch of things here, and it's all good. It's all great, actually. You know, I think you've got a really great mindset around like being intentional. I think you've got like obviously like that great community you've built, and like all this stuff's the right place. What if you could boil it down to like one piece of advice that you give to anybody listening to this today? And that's a really hard thing to do, I'm sure, but like if there's one piece of advice you'd give everybody, what would that be?
I don't know if it's like the best piece of advice, but it's something I go to often, is that and this can be interpreted maybe in a couple ways, but time tells the best story. Everything comes out in the wash. So if you have like doubts about something, I mean, there's many ways I can like unravel this, but in terms of like your dedication to whatever you're doing, you know, that effort's not unnoticed on parts of it there. Truth comes out over time on this stuff. I think that'd be like my note. Like I said, it can kind of be taken into a couple different ways in the way that I look at it too. But time tells the best story. And know that you will be noticed for your efforts, but often it's, you know, at that finish line, not the months before. So that's where time tells the best story in that kind of aspect.
Awesome.
But it can be applied to a few different things in life.
Awesome. I love that. That's great. I think that's you remind me of like one of my favorite quotes, which is no amount of money ever bought a second of time. And but it kind of like it's in the same breath. So I really like that. All right. Well, this has been really a pleasure. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before I let you go?
This is like the end of an interview. Any questions? No, I think this has been great. This has been a great conversation. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it, Grant.
It's been awesome to have you, and I didn't stick to the script at all, because like we kind of just went off on multiple tangents, but I think they were all really valuable tangents. So, Steve, thanks so much for joining us today. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this episode. And where can people find you?
I guess on social medias, Steven Maxted is most of the handles, and I guess anything with A in it as we kind of identified, but type A or A podcast or A marketing, we're all over the A stuff if you Google, but Steven Maxted on most platforms that way. And
I can't wait to see what Type A does next, to be honest with you. It's such a great, it's a movement. We're going to call it a movement now.
I love it.
Okay, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
you.